I think we're really lucky that this is the first time that Adam will be talking to like a community group, and he was really sort of excited about. It's a long process. It took, and so he's got an amazing story, amazing energy in terms of opening up his experience, and so we're all very lucky today, and I hope you use the opportunity to talk and interact and say hi and everything. So do you want to just introduce yourself, Adam, and say how you got to this point of wanting to tell everyone who you are and what happened to you?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me, guys, today. It'll be very exciting and learning a lot about all the treatments and all the medications, which I have experienced some of them in the past. So yeah, my name is Adam. So I decided to reveal my identity this year at Croy. But last year, as Simon say, it was the time when everybody revealed the London patient came to life to everyone, and I'm very fortunate to be in this position, and I was given this amazing new journey in my life, and I was very encouraged by a lot of the emotions and the encourage and the hope I was giving to people, and I felt it was important to help and give hope for my personal experience, telling people my life. And people have said about the New York Times and all the articles how my life has been the last couple of years, and I felt it's important to share my story to everyone. And I'm very glad you allowed me to come to this group and share my story and get more knowledge. I think for me it's important to get knowledge and to understand what people still facing, all the side effects and everything facing HIV research.
So do you want to say a bit about how you felt finding out about HIV? We've all, most of us are positive here. We've gone through this. Why don't you start with your HIV journey?
Yeah, well, I started back in the early noughties when I, like everybody felt ill, but I didn't. In my case, I didn't feel any symptoms of the HIV, but I was not aware of. By 2003 in London, I felt it was important for me to find out if I have HIV or not, because by 2000 I knew I was HIV negative. So when I find out in 2003, for me back in that time, it was like a death sentence for me. The doctors told me you have only 10 years, and it was a really shocking time for me. It was really like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Everybody going to the same panic, and I was very fresh from the early 90s, the late 90s, when people, if you have HIV or you get AIDS, you die. And I felt, oh wow, I was going to die. And I felt really, really low for a long time. And it took me a long time to grieve, because back in the 90s, like now today, people are more encouraged when you have undiagnosed. But that time for me, it was really challenging. And it was a death sentence for me, and it was really difficult. And I was lucky enough to be in London and to be diagnosed in London, and that's a huge difference compared to a lot of people around the world. So I felt I was in the right place and to be diagnosed, and yeah, it was kind of crazy. It was a really difficult time for me. It was really difficult. I think for anyone who is positive know how difficult is that time for you. And for me, it was very, very difficult. But I managed to look to the positive side and embracing my diagnosis. But it was a long journey of grief, but I managed to do it.
Okay, so then what about cancer?
Cancer happened in 2011. That's a good question. I think for me, to have another disease like cancer, to be diagnosed in 2011, it was another death sentence, but with a different trail. My mortality was more defined at this time, because cancer can kill you really fast. And I felt, wow, how difficult is it? How happened to me? But I realizing a lot of HIV positive people can get cancer 3 times faster than an HIV negative person. And that's something I didn't know. And I think that it's important for people to know that, to see you can get cancer. It's 3 times more likely. And it was very challenging again. It was very difficult. I felt, why me? And what I had done again. It's kind of like you feel punished. But this time around, it was like I had more kindness compared to 2003. Yeah, it's kind of like a 2-death sentence in every decade, basically.
And so what year was that?
2011.
Okay, so people need to realize that you've been being treated for cancer for almost 10 years, 8 years.
Yeah, it was. I have cancer treatment for at least 5 years.
That's exhausting.
Yeah, and it's good when you're talking about all the interaction with medication. In my case, I have to change medications in almost monthly or every 6 months. I have to change my medication, and sometimes I have to change it weekly or monthly. My HIV medication to interact with my chemotherapy. So all the side effects, I had to experience all the side effects all the time. It was just like, a lot of people get into the retroviral medications and they go into meds and then you got a side effect. Imagine to having that in a monthly basis. It was really challenging for me to go through every single possible side effect with the cancer. But it was 5 years of ruling treatments. And then by 2015, I was diagnosed terminally ill. That was a really challenge as well.
And can you say what sort of cancer you had?
Lymphoma, stage 4 lymphoma, which is very common among HIV people, HIV positive people. I wish I didn't know that. And I think I want to make sure people know that.
And stage 4, stage 4, that's not the good stage.
No, that's not a good stage, but that was the time it was happening that time. So yeah, it was very, it's nothing you can do about it. So you have to embrace it and go for it if you want to. A lot of people don't, but I did. But it's very difficult because it's a new territory for me and for everyone. And if people don't realize, and that most people don't, is when you have cancer, your HIV can compromise your cancer as well, and about medication and interaction.
And so, and then you got to a point where your HIV doctors said that the cancer doctors said that nothing else could be done.
Yeah,
that your cancer wasn't going to be treated anymore, and that then you had this, you went out as an activist, and you found the right people that could give you other options, and that then they came up with this suggestion. You found out about the fact that the Berlin patient existed, and you found out about the options for donors, and then you had a donor. And so, talk us through all that. How was that experience?
Yeah, being diagnosed terminally ill, it was any challenge again. For me, it was kind of like the third time somebody telling me I was going to die. And I think that was the ultimate time for me. And at that point, I decided what can I do with myself? And to say, I tried to work for it. And I tried to look for any possibilities to get any second chance. And I found my new medical team, which they told me the risks involved. People don't realize when you have cancer and you have HIV, not every doctor can treat you. It's no expertise, it's no experience. They're worried about, it's no data, it's no, and a lot of patients die. So in my case, my doctor told me, are you willing to risk it? It's 80% chance of dying. And I went to say to them, well, it's no other options, and I go for it. But it was something I had to look for it. My friends and my family helped me to find out a possibility with Dr. Ian Gabriel, which he was able to and willing to give me that opportunity. And of course, when he told me I was going to harvest my own cells with people from bone marrow transplant, they told me, well, it hasn't failed. You're going to die. And say, by the only option you have is to have a bone marrow transplant for a foreign donor, but that's not being done very often, and it's very likely you're going to die. You're willing to do it? And I say to them, well, I'd rather die there than die in a hospice with palliative care. And I was concentrating about my cancer. I think my HIV, it was kind of holding me back. I didn't realize how people treat you when you have HIV and cancer. And at that time, they tell me a possibility can happen, but you can die. And I say to them, well, let's go for it. But we have to find a match. And it's very difficult. People thinking because your ethnicity or your background, which in my case, it was not the case. People realized I was easy to find a match. And they found the match in Germany, which I was kind of incredible lucky to find a match, which I finally few then, which was even more incredible. And then they say to me, oh, it's a possibility to cure your cancer and your HIV. That was mind-blowing. To go like, it took me a while to thinking for a few minutes, and he kept talking about the Ccr5, the mutation, about everything else, and I was not listening to him. I was not listening to him, really. I was just, what? Cure? HIV cure? Cancer cure? I was just in the mode. And he told me, we can do this, but are you willing to do it? I'm thinking, yeah. And then actually when the London patient born, that's the day I was born, the London patient.
So when they found a donor, that must have felt really special.
Yeah, they found several, and then they found out with the Ccr5 mutation, and they told me, with this specific donor, we can treat, and we want to look at we want to replicate Berlin patient. They already told me about the Berlin patient, because when they told me about the transplant, they told me about how many people had done it. And the reference for Timothy Brown and Berlin patient came to life early on. And then when they told me we can replicate his case, I was just stunned. I'm like, wow, are we going to do that? Yeah, we tried to do the same. But his cancer is leukemia, and your cancer is lymphoma, which is blood cancer. So, but it's similar.
And then the procedures. So people think this might just be an easy thing. You whip out your bone marrow and you slip in somebody else's bone marrow. How many times were you in hospital, and how difficult was this to go through?
Yeah, people take it very unlikely that, a bone marrow transplant is a very complex and highly risky procedure. For me, I arrived in May 2016, and I left by December 2016 hospital. So I spent months and months in hospital. And you nearly die several times. So I went to UCR, intensive care. It's a very difficult time to be. And you actually can die before transplant, during transplant, and after transplant. So it's a very difficult. And that's what I feel is really important to let people know. This is not a cure for HIV for the masses. It's not feasible, and it's highly risky. And it's nothing I cannot recommend to anyone to go through what I went through to cure your HIV. It's not advisable. It's very unwise for anyone to do that. So it's very important to tell that to people. I think I get a lot of people asking me questions about this. How can I get a cancer cure? How can I get a transplant? And I have to be very patient and explain to them the process, how difficult it is. You cannot do this. This is about when you have cancer. This is an option. When it's not anything else available for you. So I had to explain a lot to people. People still have misperception about this is a cure, you can have a magic pill. And I had to explain to a lot of people about this.
I think you're going to have to explain that many times. Okay,
Yes.
Everybody wants to know why we all can't have a bone marrow transplant and have donors and things. So how did you feel when you had the first news that it might have worked?
I think I was apprehensive at the same time. I think I was, for people, it's very strange because being HIV positive man and now becoming HIV negative, it's like in reverse. Once again, I was petrified to become HIV positive again. Believe me or not, it's kind of crazy, but that's the way I felt. Oh, that worriness, that anxiety about becoming HIV positive came back to me, which I felt like, but you're already positive. So why are you feeling so anxious about it? But I felt really anxious. And then when it actually worked, first time we stopped medication, which I want to add something about one of your guys were talking about gaining weight. In my case, when I stopped medication, I started gaining weight. I never gained weight when I was on medication. As soon as I stopped my medication, I gained weight constantly for months and months and years. I've been gaining weight since I stopped my medication. Just to let you know that, and I'm still wondering why. So when that happens, my doctor told me to stop medication. That's a very difficult thing to do. I think because you're in a set mind telling yourself you have to take your medication every day. You have to remain in medication. So to tell me to stop, it was like, oh wow, I need to stop this pill, which everybody told me I need to take it forever. When I stopped it, well, a lot of people, in my case, I stopped it on my date of birth, on my birthday. So I thought that was the best present ever you can ever have on your birthday. So what else can I give myself? A birthday present. So I did that in 2017. And and a month later, because I think when I really find out, it was about a month because we stopped the medication, and then next week for 4 weeks we took tests. The first one is negative, the second one negative, the fortnight negative, the third week, and the other month. And then when the doctor said, well, this sounds good, this is look good, but we have to be cautious. This is we early ages, and we were all apprehensive, okay, if it's a possibility. But I was excited. I was like, oh my God, it's actually a negative. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh, negative. And then the month goes, 6 months later, I think when I start feeling, wow, this is actually happening. And they told me, we might think about stop medication. Do you thinking you should have stopped your medication early? I said, no, I don't feel that way. A year later, and then that's when I get to Simon. I think Simon came to, I was introduced to Simon by my medical team and Mortimer. And I started knowing more about HIV because I think I started learning more. I think a lot of people have HIV and they have not much knowledge about it. And I think that's what I started learning more about HIV, learning about my journey and the world around me about HIV. I think that's what happened.
So if we're going back 2 years now, not this CROI, but CROI before,
yeah,
and you knew that the data was going to be presented.
Yeah, 6 months later, and I think
so. This is back in a year and a half ago now, or just over a year ago. How was that process? Because it all got released a little bit early. It wasn't what you were expecting, and you'd done a bit of an interview with the New York Times. And so, how did that feel when you woke up on Sunday morning and the story was on the news?
It was very strange. Because everybody was talking about me without knowing me, and I was very strange. And I was like, I understood now my responsibility to science and to help, the way I'm doing right now with Professor Gupta, helping him with research. And I felt like, oh wow, I make history, and I'm the second person. It really sinking that part, but in a very humble way. To be in this position is very humbling and very caring, I mean, for me, made me realize the importance to give hope to people, to help people, to tell my story. I'm thinking hope is very important. I have to endure so much throughout many years, and I feel like it's important for me to share that to people. I think that that's my goal is to give hope, and people connect to me and talk to me, empathize with me, and hear my story.
So how has it changed your life so far?
Yeah, changed it completely. I mean, for a year I was Adam and the London patient. Now they are united. It was had changed. I think my life had changed since the day they told me I was going to be cured HIV. I think my life had changed from that time. In a very different steps. And for I think CROI last year, when the news came out it was leaked in India, and the response I have is very positive. But people have to realize this is not a feasible cure, but at the same time, it's hope to everyone. I think that's my message. But I learned a lot in the last year about HIV and history, and I think I empathize with a lot of people around the world. I understand the difficulties that people have around the world, and I think that's something I can add something. I can contribute something. I can do. I can open the conversation. I can talk about things in a different level, because I'm living proof it's possible to get cured.
It's been going on for since 2011, your treatment, and 2015 in terms of the stem cell treatment, and you've had a team. Amazingly, this would have involved hundreds of people at your health centre, and you've stayed anonymous, and you've also got a team of family and friends around you. Can you talk a bit about that support you've had?
Yeah, my family is very supportive. I think when they realized my journey and I knew about my HIV and my cancer, they were very supportive. I think, and then when I realizing I was going to be the London patient and what I represent, they were very proud. I think my mother is very proud of me. My family very proud, and they say, "We supporting you, we backing you. We know you have been struggling for so many years." And I think if you can do something good to the community and to the people, I think that would be great. But it was really important for me to have that support. I think a lot of people don't have that support when they're HIV positive. They've been discriminated by the parents, the family, and I think I was fortunate enough to have a very good network of family and friends who were supporting me no matter what. Of course, you don't tell everyone you HIV. I think it's very personal to everyone. And I think, but even so, when I discovered the rest of my acquaintances and realized who I am, they messaged me and said supporting me and backing me. But it's difficult. It's not easy. In my medical team, I think we become like in a partnership. So we have been together for so many years, and we have learned from each other. And they learn from me. I learn from them, and I'm being very disciplined. I'm very helpful and proactive with my care, and they'll be very helpful to me. And I say it's really good. You're very proactive patient, so we can actually have a serious conversation with you about anything, and you're very responsible. I think that helped me to create that trust and that kind of partnership with all my medical teams, because I have several medical teams around me who look after me even today. So, and now being with the coronavirus crisis, I still have tons of teams around me who work around me, which is really I feel privileged, but to be able to have all that support. I have both sides, from friends, family, and my doctors.
So one of the questions that has just come through, and I know you have a box behind you because I've seen it before. So somebody says, "Are you currently on any medication?"
No, I am not on any medication. I left medication in 2017.
No, but are you on immunosuppressants or treatment related to your cancer?
No, immunosuppressant. No, I think it's something important to realize. When you have a bone marrow transplant, you are into the cyclosporine immunosuppressing medication for at least for a year, but then you leave it. But if you have a solid organ transplant, you will remain with that medication the rest of your life. So I'm not. But I've still in a lot of medications. Don't think it because I just stopped retroviral medication, I stop medication. I normally take around 20 pills a day.
This pill you take a day?
It's one pill let's take a day. But
Okay.
I think the thing is, I take all this medication, but this medication doesn't have the stigma attached. You take all this medication, it's okay to take it. But I still take a lot. Before, I used to take up to 60 pills a day, and it was very challenging.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a lot of pills, and some of them I have to pulverize, make liquids, different forms to able to manage. So it's been
Okay, now you've been doing some pretty amazing stuff with other charities. Do you want to say a bit about that? How you're connecting? And
yeah, I mean, I have been working with other charities. Like I work for Hospitality Action. I'm a chef. I'm working in the hospitality industry, and you know how the crisis with the COVID-19, the hospitality industry had decimated. But back in the days when I was struggling with my cancer, that was the only charity was helping me at that time, financially, Hospitality Action. So I'm working with them, helping them in campaigns, and working right now with them and try to make appeals from them, try to raise awareness about them. We make a film about me, about how much they helped me, and I hope to continue doing that with them. And I'm working as well with Anthony Nolan. I don't know if people know about the Anthony Nolan Foundation, which is about for bone marrow.
Yeah.
I'm working with them because without them, I would not be here today. So I think that charity has been very important to me. Without them, I would not be here today. Basically, without them.
So I love the fact that you're linking up with non-HIV charities. How did they feel when you knocked on the door and said, "Hey, listen, I'm HIV positive, and I want to connect"?
No, I think Anthony Nolan is very excited to work with HIV charities because I have never worked with HIV charities before.
Yep.
And they're very excited to work with charities, and they think it's a really great opportunity for them to be liaising with them and with other HIV charities like National AIDS Trust, eBay, UCAP. So charities who are able to communicate and to talk to.
And so I hope it's okay if I say this, but that you are doing this all by yourself.
Yeah, it's a one-man show.
You've got this excitement and the story to tell, and it's incredibly difficult. First of all, it's difficult for you to have decided to become open about publicly what happened, but also you're doing all these connections, and you don't have a PR agency, you don't have a team of people that are working and answering the phones for you, and you've arranged interviews with the New York Times, you had interviews in the Sunday Times, you've had some TV opportunities, and you're juggling this all on yourself. This is incredibly dynamic and stressful thing to be doing. You're reaching out to charities like Anthony Nolan Trust and the support for chefs and for people in catering industry, and so it's like incredibly impressive to see all this, and I'm sure it's a little bit stressful as well, but you're doing, and then I don't know if you're seeing the comments that are coming through on the chat forum, but everybody is saying that they're really appreciating the chance to hear your story in the first term, and that it's a very impressive. I hope you're getting this feedback that we appreciate everything you're doing.
So the question was, do we know why a bone marrow transplant works? How does it eliminate all of the reservoirs of HIV in the body? And then second, if I can ask the second part at the same time, because it might be one answer, that is clearly we're not all going to have a bone marrow transplant, but is there any general learning about the possibility of a cure or some improvement for all of us?
Yeah, so good question. I can two questions. So first one is the bone marrow transplant can eliminate the HIV for your body. So like in my case, we have done so many studies and to try to find other reservoirs. and they're being eliminated. I don't think with the technology we have today, we still can 100% tell it's not in the reservoirs anywhere. So I think I have done everything possible up to date to see if we don't have. So in my case, everything is clear, and all the reservoirs I try to look at it. But we find some fossils, which is some part of the genetic code of the HIV. That's one we have. Why do you think the bone marrow transplant work? Because I think they eliminate, they try to kill the HIV cells. I think that's why, that's my understanding for a long time about how the Ccr5 mutation helped to take the HIV. And I think in my case, I'm very proactive to help the doctors to get every single possible test which are available to find a more definite result. In my case, last year we were operationally cured. That's how the terminology was used. But CROI in 2020, we use functionally cured because we have gone to all reservoirs possible to find out. Right now, with Professor Gupta in Cambridge University, I'm working with them. So for the last 3 years, I've been volunteering from every month to give blood, to try to work in a more genetic way, to see if we can do more manageable way to work the HIV, with my blood, to see if we can do the genetically gene therapy. I think that's what we're going to do right now. I think we're doing a lot of trials, and I'm very committed. So sometimes I have to give blood to different countries. So the Korea is waiting for me, and I give a lot of blood. I can give up to 1 liter of blood. I have done one time. So it's a lot of blood I'm giving away. So I donate a lot of blood. I'm donating for research. So I think right now I'm doing that. And I hope that can answer your question.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, it does. And thank you for giving us the talk and the inspiration.
Okay, thank you.
And so what's your plans now?
Where my plan as well, I continue to, I would like to go on to speak a lot to people, do motivational speaker. I think that would be important to reach out, to open the conversation, as I said early on. And I think my projects, I would like to go to have like kind of like a podcast, like a conversation with a London patient, and I think talk about different topics, and people can ask questions about daily life, how they feel about stigma, discrimination, health, normal life. I think that's something I would like to do. Continue working. I think for me, I would like to travel, to meet people, and to hear the stories. And I think give us some hope and inspire them to continue. Don't give hope, despite everything. I think that's as a chef, because I learned through the years how difficult it's about eating. I think now it's about eating with a purpose. I think that's what I want to kind of invest a lot of time in, and help people how to eat well with a purpose. I think will be an exciting opportunity for me, and I think people can listen to me, what I've been doing. Thank you, Roy. And I feel important. If I'm able to help one person, my work is done. If I can inspire one person, my work is done. If I can help people to have a smile or to feel confined in me, like I have tons of people who talk to me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, they message me about how they feel about the HIV, they tell me how I feel about it. So I think I feel like that would be an amazing opportunity for me to talk to people around the world and traveling and meeting different people, different cultures, different countries, and open the conversation about HIV. Hopefully in the future I can write a book about my life.
So I'm sorry this happened at the same time as coronavirus.
Yeah, I think life with coronavirus had changed. I think I would like to have this conversation face to face. I think it's more personal, but that's the way we are now. So, but yeah, I think it's exciting opportunities, and I think I would like to. I'm working in different projects right now, documentaries, and it's a lot of opportunities out there, which I think it will be exciting for me to kind of tell my story for the medical perspective and for on a personal level, and I think it's important. And people here feel identified with, oh, I feel stressed, I feel depressed, I feel low, I feel happy. Yeah, I think that's important for me, people to identify with it.
So one of your plans was to go to the International AIDS Conference in the US in the summer, which has now been turned into a virtual meeting. And at that meeting, they have a community cure meeting where you were going to go on a panel with Tim Brown. So how is it when you two talk? So you're in this exclusive club. I'd love to sort of be a fly on the wall there and hear what you talk about. So has interacting with Tim been helpful?
Yeah, I think talking to Tim, I think the first time we actually interact, and for your introduction, you introduced me to him, and I think thank you for that. And the first time we talked, he said, "Hello, my brother, welcome to the family." I think he was very caring. I think he told me, "Welcome to the family. It's only two," and he's very supportive. I think I support him a lot because I think for the first time he was able to feel understood. For the first time, he understood somebody else had the same feeling about being cured. I had a blueprint from him, so I kind of have more knowledge about him. I think when we start talking, it's been really encouraging. It's been very helpful. He helped me to understand my journey, to understand a few things, and he be by himself. So it's kind of like we're helping each other, and I think it's been growing, that friendship and the brotherhood in the last couple of months, and I think it will continue. I think he's a wonderful guy, and I felt instant connection. I think we connected in a different level than anybody else would connect.
Okay, because I think because Tim Brown's very just as difficult to experience, and is also just as good with people and as about being open and sharing his story. But I remember when early on you were going, no, we haven't quite met yet. We're just doing it you stayed anonymous with him for a while.
Yeah, I stayed anonymous for a while because I need to protect my identity for a long time. So I didn't want anyone to know I think it was for me to control it. I think it was important for me to. We have a conversations a long time, so we were talking, but then I felt it was imperative for me to kind of go to the next step. And I think he understood, because like you said earlier, he had 2 years to decide to go public, and he told me, "Don't rush. If you don't want to do it now, take your time." He's very patient with me. So, and I felt in his case, it's Timothy Brown, the Berlin patient, and in my case, I was like the London patient. So he wanted to be identified as a Timothy Brown, and I think for me, it's a different way. I feel identified as Adam, the London patient. So we have different way to think in that. No, at the same time, he's very, very kind to me. I think we talk regularly, and I was hoping to meet him before he was going to travel here. I was planning to go there, but it has to stop. So now we're going to go to the AIDS conference in San Francisco, but virtually. So we're going to do that, which I still think is still not personal, but that's the only way we can do it nowadays, to connect with people. I think that's the only way, and I will do it. I think that will be, and I hope next year I can do in person, hopefully. So yeah, but he's a really guy. He's really great guy, which he told me how he feels for the last few years, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. I think talking to him, I felt like understood, and he felt understood too. So that's really special.
Okay, so I see there's other people who've got things to say. Ant wanted to say something to you.
Sorry, I was muted there. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for telling your story.
You follow me on Instagram.
Yes, yeah, which is great. Do you know what? It's amazing to see you're doing so well, and thank you so much for telling your story. I mean, it's I think I speak for all of us in saying it is just such a life-affirming story to hear, because you've been through so much to get where you are now. I think for me, as someone who's been public about being HIV positive, one of the most difficult things I find is you can easily kind of burn yourself out. And I guess what I wanted to ask was how we can support you as a network of people who are activists, treatment activists, people living with HIV, to support you to kind of tell your story and be an advocate for us.
How can you support me? I think that the best way is just keep share my message from my media account, and I think to talk to other people to get connected to me. I think for me it's important to get that connection, to find people inspiration and people telling me the story. I think every time when people talk to me about their own journey, and I think that encouraged me to understand my journey as well, because everybody had their own journey. My new journey as ambassador of hope, as a London patient, that's what I want to be, ambassador of hope, is to give that. And I think that's the way I want to give that help and support. I think if you can support me in my Instagram accounts and Twitter and Facebook and keep sharing my message, I think it's important. But don't be afraid to talk to me and asking me a question. How do you feel, or how you are feeling today, or how do you feel about your HIV? How you feel about treatment? How you feel about society? I'm happy to help. I'm happy to give my my take, because in my case it's been very mental journey as well. You know, you have to remember going through what I've been through for so many years. It's a journey with a lot of mental obstacles, and I think a lot of people is afraid to seek help, is afraid to ask for help, or just admit it. And in my case, I feel like when somebody asks me, what is your weakness or your disadvantage, I tell people, I believe in people. I tell people I'm able to talk about my weakness can give my biggest strength. So it's about sharing. I think that is important for me, and I would like to talk more to other organizations and to talk to the small charity groups, young HIV activists. I think I want to connect more with the people, not only in the UK but around the world. But I think I want to connect a lot with people. I think people interaction and people learning, I think it's important. I think you can help me with that. It would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, I work for University of North London, and I chair our LGBT group. So I know, and I'm also a public health student as well there. And I know that we would love to invite you to come and chat to us. Even if it's virtually over the next 6 months, or whenever we get back to normal. It'd be lovely to kind of, because I think you're just such an inspiration. Quite apart from the fact that you've been through all of this, you're a very inspirational speaker. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today. It's I know that we've all enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, I think if it's about, I want to connect. I want to, I like you. I feel exactly the same, and I don't want to feel like I'm the chosen one or the lucky one. It happened to me, and I feel it happened to me, and I have to use the best way I can. And I think for me not to share my story and what I've been through, it would be sad. I think it's about sharing. It's important. And thank you. And I would be delighted to go to university and talk, and people listen to me. And sometimes when people talk to me and I feel, oh, I feel that way. I feel the same. And you're not the only one. And yeah, I think it's important. And I think a lot of males, a lot of guys tend not to talk about their emotions. And I think girls tend to talk about more their emotions than guys. So I think in my take, I think that would be, and as well talk about ethnicity. I think people don't realize important about to generate about different people and to be related to different ethnicity, to different communities. I think that would be great, and able to speak different languages, that helps me as well.
Thank you.
Adam, hi. I'm 34 years HIV positive. I've been through cancer, TB, and many other infections, let's say. I'm not jealous about your journey. Honestly, I wouldn't choose it.
No.
Yeah, but I'm so happy for your destination because you are a happy person, and that is what we need right now. Some positive, something, something nice, and you are that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Adam. That great story, fantastic story. And did you say you had Hodgkin's or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
No, Hodgkin lymphoma.
Oh, okay. Just maybe Simon can help both of you this question. Do you think that there's any implications with the Ccr5 mutation in, say, research around COVID and future investigations?
Yeah, there are some research. I think I hear about from here and from the state about the correlation between Ccr5 and Covin and what we can do. Still early stages, and I think I spoke to Professor Gupta talking about Ccr5 and Covin. We think that it's a possibility. We are immune to COVID-19, or we are susceptible. It's still early stage to say that, but they are working on that. I think, and even Timothy, we already discussed that together. So we don't know. I think we're going to find out later on what is that. But they are working. They are working with. I can tell you, Professor Gupta created a machine 2 years ago for HIV, and that machine is being redesigned for COVID-19 in Cambridge. So it's been it was designed to me, and it's been redesigned to COVID-19. So it's correlation between Ccr5 and HIV, yeah, and COVID. So it's related, all of them. They're working together. So I think the experience they have already with the HIV and all the research, they are using it with Ccr5 on the COVID. They're using it right now.
Thank you. Simon, have you got anything to add?
No, I think just too early stages. Not sure which way the interaction might go.
Yeah, exactly.
Good questions. Hopefully, we get information from other databases and research.
Yeah, I think that is the early stages for anything like that. But it's being discussed about, or you are immune or you are not. So, but it's early to say that way. I like your background.
Yeah, it's the woods just outside the house. So I thought better than looking at this old office.
We're coming up right close to 1 o'clock now, so we probably need to wrap things up. But Adam, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I don't think you'll have any problems in people wanting to meet you face to face at all. So it's great to be able to have had this opportunity, and thank you